Don't forget the Palestinians.
In the great scheme of things, there's a lot said about the Palestinians.
No, in the now scheme of things, because of the genocide.
Well, I think Sudan is a genocide. I mean, it depends on your viewpoints. I get.
Are you seeing giant bombs being thrown on Sudan
No,
and
but I'm seeing
completely
10
obliterating?
times as many Muslims being killed there. There are enormous
Not
numbers.
necessarily. Personally, any genocide that's taking place, I don't like to compare them, but I do feel honorable when I mention, I don't like to miss any out. For example, I wouldn't necessarily say, if you were to bring up the Uyghurs, I wouldn't say, oh no, the Sudan thing is worse than them, because it's somewhat belittling their
So if you had to rank
their punishment.
them, what criteria do you say? How
I
many
wouldn't.
people died? Or,
I wouldn't rank them. I would just say that for something to be classed as genocide, let's look at the genocide scholars, the people that are experts in genocide. What have they said? What does international law say? And then I'll go with that. If I am to take an objective stance, because I know everyone can be subjective, right? So if we're being,
What about the people in the west of Burma? I forget.
Absolutely.
Rakhine.
Yeah.
Is it Rakhine?
The Rohingya,
Rohingya.
yeah,
They
they get missed out.
they've gone and fled
Yeah.
to come on, what's eastern Bangladesh called? Is it eastern Pakistan? It's Bangladesh, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Bangladeshis are treating these Muslims terribly. I mean,
But it's interesting when it came to Sudan, the Uyghurs and Rohingya, it was clear, but when it came to the Palestinians, you said, and then you gave a historical kind of point, as if to kind of divorce them from the barbaric,
okay.
bombing that they are facing at this moment in time.
As a people, they're not having a good time of it. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's. I forgot what the word is. Black and white, the by something. The Palestinians are up against the Israelis, who I can't help thinking from an English point of view, even if it's a bit flawed, it's actually democracy. It's a flawed democracy. But as far as I know, most people living in Israel have the vote. Last time I looked, there were about 1 million Muslims living there, and they all voted. And they don't seem to be leaving. Whereas...
But democracy doesn't excuse mass violence on another group of people, right?
That's... It doesn't. So, I mean, you could...
Because Hitler was democratically elected.
Yes.
He wiped out 6 million Jews. No one says, oh, but that was a democracy and he wasn't voted out.
It was a dictatorship. That's what we're about American.
Well, technically speaking, it was a democracy, but you can say it wasn't a good democracy, but it still was a democracy, right? He was voted in.
Again, it was a flawed democracy.
Yeah.
From what I read in this week's Economist, Israel's going to the polls in October, and this lunatic there, what's his name? He's been there, forgotten his name. Been there for 14 years, and he'll probably lose. That's probably a good thing. Somebody a bit more moderate come in.
Do you believe there is, like, the population will vote in someone moderate?
It would be marvellous if it did.
No, I mean, like, statistically, if you look at what the Pew survey says, a lot of people, like 80% plus, are okay with what the government is doing in Palestine.
That's not what I read in this week's Economist. The problem is, all journalism is skewed in some direction. So if you're trying to get facts, I suppose you're trying to get the most objective facts with the least. So you know that if you read the Daily Mail, it's going to have quite a right-wing slant. So you read everything knowing where they're coming from. And if you read the Socialist Worker, it's the same. What I like about The Economist, by and large, it gets its facts right. Its interpretation is perhaps a bit liberal, but it's...
Where does it get its facts from?
All sorts of places, and it tells you. At the end, I wish I had mine with me. It arrived on Saturday, but I came down to London on Thursday.
So it will reference works done by Pew, because Pew does surveys. So I just undercut all of that. Instead of quoting Economist or Telegraph, I just gave you the primary source that they quote, which is Pew. And Pew have said that definitely, like, over 70% of the population is okay with what's happening in
Well,
Palestine.
if that were the case, then this fella won't get back in, will he? What's his name again? I think this Israeli fella that's in there.
Netanyahu.
That's the lad. That's the fella. News, economy. It's worth reading in as much as it's a very internationalist magazine. It does take a fairly liberal view.
I just go to the primary sources instead of magazines and newspapers.
No, but
I just look at the studies.
they always quote from primary sources.
Why not just go to the primary source?
There's a lot of interpretation of. I mean,
Why rely on a newspaper's interpretation, like Rupert Murdoch?
okay,
Yeah.
right. I went to school, and I did a bit of. I went to uni. Well, I wasn't clever enough for uni. I went to a polytechnic,
Right.
and I did post A-level statistics.
Yep.
And frankly, statistics are hard work. I'm just seeing if it.
No, but Pew makes it very easy. They give you nice little diagrams, charts that are pretty straightforward.
What's this source? Oh, so the latest thing. Oh, it's a GB. That's that. I mean, that's one typical graph. It's always full of graphs. That source is the OECD.
So it's okay
Yeah,
if I-
please help yourself. I've got a bit. The OECD, you might not like what they do, but by and large, the
So
way
what
they
does
do.
it show? Because the graph.
This is a percentage of change in GDP over a period of time. It's a 14-minute read. Is this particular article?
Yeah, but we're not talking about the GDP. We're talking about if the likelihood of the population of Israel to vote in someone moderate when they're happy with what Netanyahu is currently doing in Israel.
I mean, it's not a massive population, isn't Israel? And I know that there's about, according to this thing anyway, there's about 1 million Muslims that have the vote. What occurred to me is when you look around all the other countries in the Middle East,
Yeah.
there don't seem to be any Jews there, and they don't seem to vote, and they don't seem to be members
Which
of
countries
parliament.
are you referring to? Let's take Iran.
Iran
Iran
used to have an enormous
Still
Jewish
does.
population.
Still does.
Again, last time I looked, it wasn't. So how many Iranian Jews are in parliament then?
Not parliament. You said how many Iranian Jews there are, and we're looking at least 100,000.
Still, I'm surprised.
Let's have a look. Jewish population in Iran.
Wikipedia is
Sorry,
often
up to 15,000 Jews.
15,000.
Yeah.
So that's not very many compared to 95 million, which is the population of Iran. What I'm saying is, in Israel, even though it's a flawed democracy, there are Muslims that are members of the parliament. I can't remember what they call them. The Knesset, the whatever it is. They actually have Muslim members in this.
So let me just give you a few names. Maybe you can check when you have some time, yeah? So these are people or academics that have said what's happening in Palestine is a genocide.
Right, when you say, I would want to know who they are and what the background is.
That's fine. I'll see if I can give you that.
I won't,
Oh, you
forgive
wouldn't?
me.
Okay.
No, forgive me. I don't wish to be rude.
Yeah.
I won't remember the names within
No
20
problem.
minutes.
Just for the sake of this conversation, just so you know that there are academics from certain backgrounds, for example, Holocaust survivors,
Yes.
that hold this opinion, right?
I don't dispute this. I absolutely accept that.
So I'll give you a few just for the sake of argument. So Martin Shaw, Melanie O'Brien, who's the president of International Association of Genocide Scholars. She says it's a genocide. Dirk Moses, the senior editor of the Journal of Genocide Research. Iva Vukusic helped prosecute the Srebrenica genocide.
I'll save your time here. I'm not disputing this. I wouldn't dispute it. I wouldn't take. I mean, people have views. You have a view. I have a view.
So
We
what's
have
your
different
view
views.
about what's happening there? Let's start with that then.
My view? How far back do you want to go?
Not how far back, like what's happening there now. When someone gets stabbed, you don't ask, or what happened 20 years ago that caused the stabbing. First, you try to stop further stabbings, you try to make sure that the area is secure, then you start looking at motive. Currently, they like 100,000 have been murdered there. They've admitted, footage has come out of them raping people in prison, of shooting, doing target practice
That's the push.
on children, and this footage has been obviously proven. And
I'm not disputing it. I'm not disputing it.
So I guess
think
my view is,
said
my question is, what do you think about that?
Well, the starting point, I take a moderate view. Two wrongs don't make a right. I think this all started.
There's no two genocides. There's only one genocide taking place. There's no two wrongs. There's one wrong.
There's one wrong. I think didn't.
Like, for example, let me give you an example. Sorry to interrupt. You know when you said Sudan, you didn't.
Yes.
You didn't mention the opposing force. When you mentioned the Uyghurs, you didn't say, "Oh, let's talk about the Chinese context and
The Han.
it's a
The Han Chinese and the Uyghurs.
Yeah, they believe that the issue goes far deeper, and it's not as simple as we've got concentration camps. For example, the Rohingya, you didn't say, oh, let's look at the opposing thing. But when it came to Israel, you said, how far back do you want to go? I have a more moderate view. There's both sides. But here you have more of a consensus of it being a genocide, arguably, than other genocides taking place, not to decrease their suffering.
So the question is why?
Because it's more obvious. There's more media coverage. There's more violence in terms of journalists being killed, kids being killed.
Okay. Is that because Israel is, to some degree, perhaps flawed, but to some degree, a democracy? People can fly in, fly out. Journalists can go in, go out. It's quite difficult to get in and out of Sudan.
They're not allowing journalists. Israel is not only stopping journalists going in. Piers Morgan had a debate with one of them saying, why are you not allowing them to go in?
Oh, that's a mistake.
And then their response was, oh, we want to keep them safe. Yeah, Israel wants to keep them safe.
Keep them safe. Okay, yes, that's funny.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Israel has killed more journalists in this conflict than any other conflict in our lifetime.
That I don't know. I accept, if you say so.
Statistically,
yeah, I accept your word. Again, I like to read this magazine of mine because it gives me, I think, an international view of the world. It makes me, very selfishly, feel very privileged to be English and to live in a relatively unflawed democracy. It's not perfect, no democracy is, but nobody's coming after me. It's a relatively safe society we live in. I think it's marvellous that you and I can have this conversation, and we both feel free to have this conversation. I suspect if we were in Iran right now, it would be a harder conversation to have.
I would say if we're comparing democracies, why not compare the UK to, say, another democracy like Switzerland?
Switzerland is an odd sort of place because
Switzerland has a better democracy than the UK, actually.
It's Cantonese, it's canton based. They have. I found out not so long ago, on the number plate, you know what CH means? If it comes from
Switzerland.
Yeah, but do you know what it means?
No.
Confederation Helvetica. Because originally it was a confederation of lots and lots of small independent statelets. I think, how many are there? A dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen?
Yeah.
They have a very high degree of independence to each individual state. They've just voted something. It was something partially racial. It was to do with immigration, and it was quite a narrow thing as to whether they allowed immigration.
And that's democracy, right? We can compare that with Brexit over here.
Well, yes, quite. Yeah. £350 million a day into.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, we had a much more robust democracy. It's become populist.
The thing is, we've got first past the post, which I'm sure you know has a great deal of flaws.
Yes.
Eventually leads to a two-party kind of democracy.
Well,
then
dictatorship, I would say. Yeah, it's.
And then on top of that, we're a representative democracy, where Switzerland is more of a direct democracy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's a lot of kind of issues that we're dealing with in terms of democracy. So when people are talking about genocide and stuff like that, I don't think a place having a democracy or stuff like that, I don't think that gives them a get out of jail free card.
No, but it's remarkably uncommon in an ongoing pluralist democracy to have things like genocide, massive upsets. I mean, this country...
Israel.
Well,
Israel claims
inside
to be
the
a
Israeli border themselves, I mean, they're doing adventurous things like English. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, sorry. How do you do? Very pleased to meet you. Israel itself has a bit of a problem inside its own borders, but what it's doing is a bit of adventurism, like this country did for many, many years. We had a powerful expeditionary army. I mean, I know you said you didn't want to go back too far, but the history of England is we would send gunboats in, put a flag out, say, we own this country, so there, no, if you disagree, we'll shoot you. Israel is doing a bit of expeditionary thing, it's just not being international about it.
It is. They've got a plan called the Greater Israel Project, and they have actually admitted that they want to expand. Lebanon, Syria, Golan Heights are just the beginning.
There aren't enough Jews to fill it up.
Naftali Bennett has actually said, after Iran, Turkey and Pakistan is next. So they're actually not going to stop, nor do they claim they want to stop.
I would actually, I would take issue with that. My understanding is,
and they say they've been promised this thousands of years ago. They used that as a get out of jail free card.
Oh, I've read about that. Yeah. That was in the Old Testament, the old biblical lands. It included Judea. It didn't include Turkey.
Well, according to their interpretation,
the biblical state of Judea and somewhere else.
They believe it incorporates parts of Saudi Arabia, Lebanon.
I think we're at cross purposes here. When you
sure.
say internationalist, I'm saying the English. Okay, we conquered Ireland, and okay, in the 1300s, we had the 100-Year War with France. That was on our doorstep. I'm talking about going to India, or the Falkland Islands, or wherever else they went, which is a lot of places, South Africa. England colonised all over the world. I don't think Israel will do that. It hasn't got the manpower. The country's not big enough. There aren't enough Jews, I don't think. There aren't that many Jews in the world.
There weren't enough English people to rule over India, but it was the strategy by which they did so that made it effective. So you don't necessarily need manpower.
I don't think the world will let them.
No,
I think there's a lot of pushback in America.
But do you see how
America is arming Israel, and if America stops arming Israel, the whole thing stops.
Yeah, so the way Israel works is, if you look at even the biblical kind of side of things, when they're told in Deuteronomy, and 7 tribes are mentioned, or 7 groups of people are mentioned, and they've been commanded to wipe them out clearly, yeah? So that's a genocide, right? So as they're told to wipe them out, I can give you the reference if you want.
I mean, it's, as I said when we first met, I'm somewhat agnostic.
Yeah.
This is a book that was supposed to have been written. It was supposed to have been divinely inspired. Who knows? But so was the King James Bible.
Yeah, but the point still stands. But the point still stands, which is they were told to commit that genocide only when they became established and when they became in a position of strength, which is naturally what they do, right? You're not going to start taking over if you're in a position of weakness, and that's why Naftali Bennett and the likes and many other people that are currently in the leadership.
Was he a politician in Israel?
He still is.
Oh, right.
It's a coalition government.
What I noticed was after this nonsense started in the West, not the West.
He was actually a president before, but then Netanyahu came back, and then the way he came back, you had to bring him back.
When all this nonsense started, there were massive demonstrations against this Netanyahu in Israel. Massive demonstrations. It's a flawed democracy. I don't think he'll get the manpower. I think when people stop fighting for the country.
But that's
there
changed.
Were people in the army who said, no, I'm not going to put bombs. The generals.
But the view of Israel changed when they invaded Iran multiple times, because that's what the people have been wanting for a long period of time. And then they invaded Lebanon, and now they have extended that invitation to Turkey and eventually
Now,
Pakistan.
did they invade Lebanon?
Well,
did they not?
yes.
So, well, they've had the Golan Heights for decades. Lebanon used to throw bombs. It's a strategic thing, not
People throw bombs, but it doesn't mean you go over there and you annex that bit of land, right?
Well, it stops them throwing bombs. No, the point I'm making was there's an organisation in Lebanon. Is it Hamas that's funded from Iran that has sworn to keep killing Israelis and dropping bombs on Israel? Israel say, well, no, the Lebanon government say they want to disarm Hamas, but they're
People
not strong
say
enough.
a lot of things, right?
That's the Prime Minister of Lebanon.
Yeah, so-
But there's Christians and there's Muslims and there's the other ones. I forgot what they call them. Samaritans. There's all sorts in Lebanon. It used to be a nice place.
Yeah.
It used to be an international place. Everybody talked to everybody.
It still is.
But it's only Hamas that want to destroy Israel. The rest aren't bothered.
Well, then, if that argument of democracy is made, Hamas was voted in democratically. So if a person makes the argument from democracy,
Yeah.
it fails at the door over here.
It fails
If a person says that,
Yes.
you know what, the people have said very, bad things about said country. I mean, people say bad things about each other all the time. It doesn't mean it's okay for you to go there and start annexing land. Otherwise, you'd have to say that it's okay for Russia to do that. You'd have to say it's,
Yes.
it's okay.
I get that.
Do you see?
And it's because
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Hamas is quite possibly in the majority in Lebanon, and if that is the case, and they're not going to disarm, they'll continue to attack Israel. Israel will continue to fight back, and it'll never end. And if we had the miracle of living to be 1,000 years old, we'd be having this same conversation 1,000 years. I read Private Eye, which is quite funny. I don't know if you ever see it. I like Ian Hislop. And he periodically puts a piss take on what's happening in the Middle East. And it says the biblical time, BC 3027. It says Israel attacked Lebanon and Lebanon attacked Israel. And it was happening 3,000 years ago, and it'll happen 3 years in the future. When people, I'm not...
Just to deal with that cartoon for 1 second, that sort of caricature is not just a caricature in terms of the nature of expression, i.e. the cartoon that it is. I think it's a false caricature of what's actually taking place. I'll give you an example. When you hear 100,000 people have been killed and at least half of them are women and children,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in their right mind goes to the fact the first response is, oh, it's a very complicated process. Oh, you know what? Let's look at what they're actually saying on the flip side, or let's see if it's a democracy or not. I would have thought 50,000 women and children being murdered, being targeted, is condemnable in the first sentence. Just like Sudan was rightly condemned for the genocide taking place over there, China. They were rightly condemned for what they're doing. Yeah, exactly. The Rohingya. I would say that we should be equal when we're condemning the Israel and their actions in Palestine. I don't think the first thing should be that we should jump to, oh, it's a bit of a tough one. It's not a tough one.
Okay, we have 2 points that this is raising. The first one is, why aren't we discussing Sudan? Why are we discussing Palestine? More people will die in Sudan. Why? What does
We
this
actually
country...
spoke about Sudan first in this conversation.
Did we?
Then, yeah, you mentioned Sudan, Uyghurs, Rohingya. Then I brought in Palestine, saying, why is that not in the list? And that was my
because
thing.
of the-
Yeah.
I mean, if this is like a religious thing, I think it's more
a human
racial.
thing.
I think it's more racial than religion. Was it?
I think it's a human thing, right?
Well,
For
yes.
example, the genocide against the Christians. Yeah, the genocide that we saw against, or rather the Holocaust against the Jews. I don't think it matters the color of the skin. I think mass extermination of a group of people is barbaric, and there is no two sides of it. If somebody goes, oh,
Okay.
let's talk about Hitler's in fact, if you start talking about context, World War I and Hitler's context, a lot of people look at that context and go, oh, you know what? I don't think we can divorce this from the conversation. But it's very taboo to bring up Hitler and go, oh, you know what? He was Some people are arguing he was defending his people, albeit in a very unusual way.
Yes, I've heard that said.
You know what I'm saying?
But it's a question of
But
defining
then,
your enemies,
but then
isn't
you'll be
it?
called an anti-Semite instantly.
It's a question of defining your enemies. So let's explore this. We have a situation. The West Bank, I understand, is relatively calm, but that's only because we don't seem to see a lot of people getting killed.
No, but with the West Bank, do you? Sorry,
We
sir.
have a fairly acquiescent leader there who's 90. He hasn't had an election in 30 years, and they're not arguing. So seems to be getting on with it. My understanding is that Hamas have sworn to destroy Israel.
There's no Hamas in West Bank.
Who is it?
It's
Not the West
Hamas.
Bank, in Gaza. Gaza. Who's it? Who's
Yeah, in Gaza it's
Gaza.
Hamas, but you mentioned West Bank,
No, I'm saying it's calm in West Bank. What an,
but it's not. It's not calm in the West
we
Bank.
don't read about 100,000 people dying in the West
Well, it
Bank.
might not be in The Economist, but it doesn't mean it's not happening.
It doesn't mean I just don't know about it. I can't comment.
Well-
I don't know. What I'm saying, my understanding is that
You should read like Electronic Intifada, Mint Press News. These guys talk about what's going on in Palestine often. Even Middle Eastern Eye.
I only have a limited capacity to read and remember. I've got to be a little bit, I have a bit of a life. I can't spend my whole life reading.
No, but
I
try
want to come
try
back to the
spread
point.
it out.
The point I'm trying to make is my understanding, and you'll probably correct me,
Yeah.
and I'm quite happy to be corrected, is that Hamas declared that Israel as a state was formed and that they will use all violent means to make that happen. That's what I understood their charter to be. Periodically, as I see it from an outsider, from Leeds up in Yorkshire where I live, it seems that it's like a wasp that comes and stings a dozen generals, and and they get all the big planes and the big tanks they invaded. And then when Hamas stops creating violence, it'll die down again.
No, but-
so
whoa.
should Hamas actually say, right, no more violence?
Right, let's stick with those 2 points for now. So the updated charter of Hamas actually makes a distinction between combatants and non-combatants. And they make that very clear. And they actually say, we're not fighting you because you're Jewish, we're doing it to defend ourselves. So people often quote the old charter of Hamas and they conveniently miss out the new
I
charter.
didn't know there was an old and a new, and I don't know what the fully
charters are
say.
updated, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know what it says.
And the second point is, it's interesting how in the wasp example, the wasp goes over there and stings, which, a person can, say, okay, why are they going over there and stinging? But then when there's a disproportionate response which goes against international law, which is illegal, which is targeting women and children,
Yeah.
why are we moving on from the fact that why is there such a disproportionate response? Why have they not been arrested? Why have they not been deposed? Why are they not sanctions? Why are we moving on from that point as if now, but Hamas is now going to do this next? Whoa. Before we even get to that, why was it okay for them to react in a carpet bombing sort of way to such a degree that more bombs were dropped there than that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Why is that okay?
I'm not disputing that.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing the numbers. When you say they should be deposed or arrested, I'm puzzled by whom, especially where America, A, is run by a lunatic, and B, is arming Israel. That's not necessarily safe for the Middle East. I want to go back just one stage before where you came from, and that is, why did Hamas... they've always had this violence thing against Israel, as have Israel against Hamas. It's a two-way thing. Hamas, in the old charter, I understand, I didn't know the new one, have said, we are going to destroy the state of Israel. I don't know what the new charter says. Are they still going to destroy the state of Israel?
No.
They're not. They will allow Israel to survive behind safe, free borders.
They've made it clear that they are fighting against, again, I'm not a spokesperson for Hamas. I know Hamas.
No, I just don't know what they've said.
No, because I have to be careful because they're a proscribed organization. So if we're seen to be glorifying them, then according to the free speech in this country, we can get arrested.
Oh, right.
So I have to pick my words carefully. So I'm,
Don't worry, I'm not an MI5
Yeah.
plant. I'm just a
Well,
retired shopkeeper.
yeah,
from
well,
Leeds
no,
in
it's not going to be
Yorkshire.
you. It's going to be me. I'm not worried about
Well,
you.
turn your mics off in just for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And
So
listen,
no, I can just pick my words carefully.
listen. Can you keep a secret?
Sometimes.
Okay. Look, if you don't tell anybody, I won't. Okay.
Well, I think the 5 cameras over here. I think they pick up. Yeah.
Hang on.
So you were saying what was happening before, yeah? So there are-
It's a question between the two. I know it's a prescribed organisation, but their charter surely is in the public sphere.
it is, but it just doesn't get quoted, because if it gets quoted, a person gets deemed as if they are defending them or being an apologist for them. I'm
this
just
is-
stating a fact that I heard from Piers Morgan show, so that's where it was. But that's a reality.
So tell me something.
Yeah.
Did you see Piers Morgan on television?
Did I?
Did he quote the new Hamas charter? Tell me what he says the new Hamas charter is, and then if there's any issues, it's Piers Morgan that gets arrested.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Mehdi Hassan was there, and Mehdi Hassan, I think it was Mehdi Hassan that did quote the charter, saying, either him or one of the other guys, they did say that in the updated version, they've made it clear that they have an issue with the combatants, not the non-combatants.
The army.
Well, yeah, the people that are fighting them, that want to kill them, that want to, ethnically cleanse them, those people.
So let's take this. I'm trying to keep a curve around this charter, this prescribed organisation.
Yeah.
Let's take a bit of a curve around it if we can. I mean, my understanding again in Israel,
Yeah.
they have conscription. It's almost impossible to get out of being conscripted. So these people that just happen to grow up in that country who get conscripted into the army, who get told,
It's like you said, it's a democracy, leave.
yeah, actually, yes, you're right. That reminds me of the German thing, we were only obeying orders.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
I know
right.
one of my friends is Turkish.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do the military thing. He left, and now he's not going to go back.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are. Leave.
Reset. Now that was a bit of a democracy. So
Yeah, don't be part of killing babies. I would have thought that was obvious.
Do you think if Hamas started I can't talk about Hamas.
You can talk about it, but I can't.
This is getting hard. Okay, let's invent an imaginary prescribed organisation, but it hasn't been
It's not
prescribed
going to work
yet.
in the courts.
It hasn't been prescribed yet because we're not going to give it a name.
Even IRGC has been prescribed, I think, a couple of days ago. So freedom of speech is not as free as we once thought it was.
Don't tell me.
IRA was a terrorist organization.
IRGC.
Iranians. in
Yes.
Iran.
Yes.
And
of
even
course.
that Palestinian, what was the one that they hold up these placards? Palestine Action. You've got pensioners holding up, I support Palestine Action.
Saw all
They're
that.
being arrested
Did you see the
because they
Private
threw
Eye
a bit of
cartoon?
paint on these military planes.
Did you see the Private Eye cartoon on that?
I watch a lot of cartoons.
No, the Private Eye one.
No.
Right, there was an amazing Private Eye cartoon, and one elderly, probably a pensioner, but who's also a retired university professor, he actually took a photograph of it, blew it up, and stuck it on a placard. And it had been in Private Eye, which is read by 300,000 people in this country.
Yeah.
Stuck it on a placard, got arrested for supporting a proscribed organisation. It's screamingly funny, you know. I think you should read it. But the point I was taking, if Hamas, for example, or some other mythical organisation down in bottom left, Gaza, said, we recognise the right of the state of Israel to exist, and we won't, invade its borders. Don't you think Israel would stop attacking them?
No, because it happened in the past, and Israel just was not interested with that. Why? Because I call it radical Judaism. Yeah, because the adherents of radical Judaism actually blindly follow their book that tells them that this is a promised land, because of which they will not stop until that land belongs to them.
Milk and honey, I know. It's radical anything by and large is bad.
Yeah.
That's just a personal view. I mean, even
I
that
agree
view
with
might
you.
be radical.
I agree.
But I look at this country and I look at the current democratic split, I look at the populists on the right and the left, and I look on both of them with deep horror, because they're populists. So they will do whatever they need to do to stay in power.
Absolutely.
And you look like places like Argentina, which was once one of the richest countries in the world, and they've suddenly got Peronists and populists who just ruin the country by trying to be popular.
Well, Israel has a very strong lobby there, so no two guesses why they're going towards populism.
But if that's the case,
They've got a Jewish president as well.
Well, Israel,
Argentina.
have they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm astounded. If that's the case in Israel,
Didn't they mention that in The Economist?
they might well have done.
Just recently, there was an interview of Netanyahu, and there was a rabbi that was they were supporting Argentina, for the World Cup. First and foremost, because of the leader, who there's a technical term, a Jewish term. He's a specific type of Jew, and he loves us, this, that, and he's adopted the economic, strategic position of Israel, because of which they're very happy, and open borders and this and that, because of which the population is not happy.
Again, my economist probably wouldn't cover a story like that. It's a bit specific. It deals more in general geopolitics.
How convenient. I'm just joking.
Well, no, he just does.
The Economist is very picky about what he wants to talk about.
It's a liberal newspaper. It believes in openness,
It
freedom,
claims to be,
lack
yeah.
of war. That's what it says. But the point I was just about to make is, I think you could have success coming your way.
What, personally in my life?
Thank
you.
I'm a fortune teller. So, yes, you'll win a fortune. Go and fill in the lottery ticket. No, I think if what you say is true, your background views could be vindicated in as much as if Israel is moving towards a populist bent,
Not moving towards, it's there already.
its economy will tank. When its economy tanks, nobody, including America, will want to know it. It will become a victim of its own political system. If that happens, most countries that have had a populist in them eventually fail. Most democracies don't. Most democracies, Israel is again an exception again here. Most democracies don't go to war.
No, most democracies have gone to war, and they continue to go to war. What democracies do is they learn and they try to do it better than their predecessors. Same with populists. What they do is they look at the previous case studies, they learn from their mistakes, and they try not to make those mistakes again.
And then they're no longer populists, they become mainstream. The mistake they make is they print money or they try and please one sector of society. Economically, populism never works.
No, populism could be, religious populism. It could be racial populism.
Right. I'm talking political populism.
Yeah, I'm talking religion. Like in Israel now, we're talking Israel, and in India, we're talking about religious populism, where the main party, the BJP, they are Hindutva extremists, and then the current leaders in Israel, you're seeing they're radical Jews.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities actually.
Absolutely.
Because again, there's a lot of Muslims living in India, and they're not having a good time of it. They're really not. But having said that,
you know Kashmir, right?
That I haven't got another 25 years to discuss the Indian administered part and the Pakistani administered part.
No, but people dying there. I thought you ought to mention them in the list, because
yes, I mean
Kashmiris in India do get oppressed very regularly, but unfortunately our newspapers don't cover it.
I don't know that we can quickly actually cover Kashmir. That is, although to bring it back to home, you know whose fault it is, don't you?
Well, it's the British again,
yes,
isn't it?
Absolutely yes. Or probably more the English than the British. You need some singing lessons, love.
Yeah.
You need some singing. I know this singing. It'll mention my name. It'll give you some lessons really cheaply. It's an embarrassing problem you have.
Or to sing for God, you don't have to be a
So
singer.
there are two good pages on X, Kashmir Times, and Kashmir Life. If you ever get a chance, they talk about Kashmir, and
It's Pakistani, it's Muslim, it's administered by India, it's lost its preserved status, it's become.
I'm talking about the Indian occupied Kashmir.
It's now directly managed out of not Bombay, Calcutta. Where's the capital? Anyway, it's directly managed.
It doesn't matter.
It's directly managed by Modi now, isn't it? Rather than have their own regional thing that happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he's taken autonomy away from them.
Yeah. However, an interesting thing: why are there no Iranians? What Iranians? Why are there no?
There's loads of them. They've been bombed by Israel and America.
Why are there no Hindus in Pakistan?
There are.
Really?
Yes.
Are they allowed to live freely? Are they allowed to eat meat or whatever it is?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I went to a very remote village. And it was literally, you've got open land. Yeah, people are growing, ladyfingers, not actually what I'm saying. Yeah,
growing stuff. Yes.
Yeah, like actually they're called ladyfingers. Yeah. So and aubergines and all that sort of stuff. And I go past one land, another land. I actually put this in my vlog. It's on my channel.
Yeah.
There was a Hindu temple from when India Pakistan was joined together.
Yeah.
When I was going there, I was warned by the locals, don't go there. I wasn't planning to, but they said don't do anything there, don't desecrate it.
Yeah.
It's against the law for you to desecrate a Hindu mandir in Pakistan.
I have to say that's not well publicised. That there's Hindus in Bangladesh and Pakistan.
Their places of worship actually have police protection. If a Hindu goes to Pakistan and they land at the border, they are going to get somebody assigned to them to protect them. If you were to go to Pakistan, they would assign someone to you, literally at immigration, that you would feel safe that there's somebody there looking out for you. That's how it works for foreigners.
If I was spending a few weeks touring around, they would give me a free guide.
They would give you a free security.
Oh, good heavens. I had no idea. And yet, what I always found amusing was when I worked, I don't know if you remember, you probably won't, I'll tell you, I had a post office in Bradford all my life.
Big up Bradford.
You know Bradford?
Bradistan.
It supposedly has the largest percentage of Pakistani Muslims, not the overall number, but it's well over 50%. It was about 90% of my shop. But I had a girl working.
Oh, in your shop?
Well, I was in an inner city. It was a core urban deprived inner city. My customer base is about 90% Muslim, and a very particular type.
Right.
That come from Pakistan.
Right.
A lot of people don't know their story, actually. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
just to kind of say, in 2021, the UK census said Pakistanis make up 25.5% of Bradford.
No, they're talking about Greater Bradford. Now, Greater Bradford includes places like Ilkley. You won't have heard of it. It's a spa town. It's very English. I'm talking about the old city of Bradford.
This is talking about Bradford as a whole.
Yeah, metropolitan area. It goes over the Pennines. It includes all the outlying villages, other towns.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the old. I don't know if you know.
Specific area in Bradford.
Yeah, well, the old borough, Bradford City.
Okay.
Like, I come from Leeds, right? It originally was a borough. It now encompasses about 20, 25 or more towns of over 10,000 people.
Okay.
Nothing to do with Leeds, but it's just the Metropolitan Borough Council. Might be 25% overall. And again, as you get closer to the centre of town, the more deprived areas, it becomes increasingly Pakistani. The reason for that was, again, it's the fault of the English, but more the greedy mill owners. After the war, a lot of people got killed. There was nobody to work the mills. It was a horrible job. It was very badly paid. So the mill owners went scouting for people, and they found it in Pakistan. And what do we get?
You hear that, yeah? Absolutely.
I don't know what's
I'm kissing my biceps. It's a sign of strength and pride.
Oh, is it?
That my people were there to run the mills.
Yes. Well, they did.
English couldn't do it, right?
No, there weren't enough of them. There wasn't enough money. It was hard work, and they were always going to go back to Pakistan.
Yeah.
They were always going to earn enough money to buy themselves a home. By Pakistani standards, they earned a lot of money here, but by English standards, they didn't.
Yeah.
What happened was they didn't go back home. You know, they actually thought, well, it's probably better here.
Yeah.
They just didn't go back. But there've been a lot of problems. There've been 2 major riots, which I've been in the centre of. Although, funnily enough, they've never burnt my shop down and they burnt everything around. But I had a
Because
lot.
90% of the people that came in your shop are Pakistanis, so why would they? It would be an inconvenience to them.
Yeah, I was the person cashing the green gyros, paying the benefits, sending the money by MoneyGram back to Pakistan, all the rest of it. But what I found different from certainly inner city Bradford Muslims to other immigrants generally,
Yeah.
they didn't want to integrate. They had no desire to integrate whatsoever. And so you get the second, third generation, and I feel sorry for these teenage, adolescent people. They're told by the imam, and some of them I'm told are quite radical in Bradford. Although, to my shame, I have to say I've never been in a mosque. I mean, I've never learned to speak Urdu. I suppose I should have
You
done.
don't have to speak Urdu to go into a mosque.
No, but in Bradford,
You
I
don't need Urdu to survive in Bradford. I mean, the national language is English, right?
I would imagine prayers would be in some, maybe in.
Prayers are in Arabic, right?
Yes.
But you can, if you wanted to learn Arabic, you can. But,
Yeah.
Or you can just read the translation. But,
Yes.
but also the point here is integration in general. And this is where the English also come in as well. For example, arguments have been made of Golders Green and Stamford Hill, where you have
Oh, the
Orthodox,
Jews, yeah,
the Orthodox Jewish community.
Big black hats.
Exactly.
Scary.
That they haven't integrated.
I agree, yeah.
And the evidence that I would use for that is, if you go to some of their schools, the schools are not actually teaching English.
No.
Like their primary language is Hebrew.
Yeah.
Ofsted has gone there, and Ofsted has concluded that the school is lacking, and it needs to be shut down.
Needs to improve.
What's that? The lowest rung where it needs to be shut down.
Failing.
Yeah, failed.
Yeah.
So, but they refuse.
I
They
don't
say we're gonna,
experience it.
yeah, we're gonna
To
stick
be
with this.
honest.
We're gonna have our own ambulance. Yeah, and we're gonna have our own police, the Shomrim.
Really?
And yeah, they got down the Shomrim. I'm sure you're familiar with the Shomrim. If you're ever in Stamford Hill or Golders Green, just watch. You'll be there. If something happens, the Shomrim will come within a few minutes.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal. It's allowed within.
It's Jewish police. They don't have authority. They have authority over the Jewish community.
Yeah.
They can't arrest you and send you to prison or.
No, they help the police, but what they do is they.
It's like the council wardens who, if you're dropping litter and
Which no one else has. Like Muslims don't have that.
it needs to have-
Hindus don't have that. Jains don't have that. Sikhs don't have that. Even there's an ambulance. That ambulance primarily deals with Jews.
I found it interesting, going back to Bradford.
So, like just to complete that point.
Oh, yeah.
So, for you to be integrated, rather than spending all of that money on having a separate ambulance service, why not just invest in the current ambulance service or make the current system better so everyone can benefit from it?
You're talking like the St John's ambulance, the Christian.
Or
Yeah, you're probably right. The
You know what I'm
Christians
saying?
do it as well, don't they?
Yeah.
I suspect, I don't know, but they were the original religious ambulance service, weren't they, the St John's? You see them as all big dues.
Yeah, so there's all sorts. Yeah, so let's just say St. John's is there, and if the argument is made this is a Christian country, then surely they should be supporting St. John's Ambulance, or they should be supporting, I don't know, other initiatives. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. No, I was going to tell you just an individual anecdote I always found vaguely amusing.
Yeah.
I had 3 counters.
Sorry,
in
I
my
just wanted to
pensions.
make that point. Please don't
no.
think I'm rude. But the integration point, I just wanted to conclude saying the Muslims, there are Muslims absolutely that are not integrating,
Yes.
and that's wrong.
Yes.
They need to integrate. They need to present themselves. They need to make their religion, their culture more familiar to the people, so the people are less afraid of them. They need to help the communities.
Yes.
And the same is with the Sikhs, the same is with the Hindus, the same is with the Jews. I would say all communities. That's why I also mentioned the Jews, but I wanted to wrap up the point by saying, indeed and absolutely, there are Muslims that are not integrating, there are Jews that are not integrating, and I don't think that's helpful for the overall health of the
And
UK.
I suspect they're not in the majority either. The individual anecdote I was going to tell you was in my shop, I had a post office. I took office in '76, and was it '78? And I sold the business in '16. So I did about 40 years in Bradford. My longest serving member of staff, she was with me for about 20, 25 years. She was...
Well done, brother.
Thank you. She was a Sikh girl. Her parents had come over.
Speaker's Corner is not stopping that delivery. That
You've
delivery is
wait.
gonna.
You've got-
That delivery is gonna get.
It's going to get through.
If it kills him, that's my kind of guy. I would hire that guy.
He's determined. What, the hat? Thank you. Marks and
If I was a
Spencer.
businessman, bro, I would hire that guy, bro. I would
Got
hire him.
initiative and determination.
Absolutely.
No, the girl that worked for me over 20 years, and I'm still in touch with her. I had to make her redundant when I sold the shop. That was the hardest thing I ever did. And she was a Sikh girl, and she'd been brought up to really dislike Muslims, and she really did like Muslims. And I said to her, her family, and she's not the only one, it happened to a lot of people, but she was from the Punjab, and when partition came, her family lost all the land, quite a few of them were murdered, they lost everything they had, and they escaped to England. I said to her, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at her. I don't know what Sikh women wear or do or that's different, but she just looks...
You're not the only one.
Oh, right.
Like we're seeing now with the far right, when they are,
It's
you
not
know,
like me or anybody.
yeah, they've got an issue with Pakistani or brown women, right? Now they don't care what that brown woman entails or what her theology is.
Yeah.
A Sikh woman about a couple of months ago got raped. Yeah.
I read about
You
this
read about
somewhere.
that.
This was on mainstream news, wasn't it?
Yes, and she was being called, anti-Islamic rhetoric
a Muslim
when she was a
whore or
Sikh.
something, yes.
Yeah, she was a Sikh. So the
Makes
Sikh
you-
community was shocked, but then they weren't shocked.
I'm very much in favour of as much association as possible with visible minorities.
Yes.
Because the more you know, I mean, even if I was National Front, I would know what I was up against, even if I was doing it for malicious reasons.
Yeah.
The more you know about somebody, I imagine the less you would come to fear them, because they're not really a threat to your way of life.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of the Church of England, even though I'm agnostic.
Big up Henry VIII.
They do what every day?
I said big up Henry VIII.
Henry VIII.
The Reformation.
Henry VIII.
Henry VIII.
It was through him that the Church of England started, right? Because he wanted to get divorced, right? Because he kept beheading his wives.
No, the problem was it was too hot in all the monasteries.
Yeah.
They hadn't invented air conditioning. He thought if he takes the roof off them all, we'll get lots of fresh air in.
Exactly.
So he just needs to make dissolution of the monasteries.
Surprised the Church of England has survived this long, considering its origins.
Well, yes, it was. But having said that, the Catholic Church isn't altogether benign, is it? It's
Exactly. But we make a distinction. We make a distinction between the religion and the adherents to the religion, which unfortunately they don't make that distinction when it comes to Muslims.
The people preaching the religion.
Yes.
And again, what I think is tragic in Bradford is some of these radical imams are tending to radicalise some of the teenage boys in particular, not so much girls, because the boys don't know where they are.
Yeah.
Are they English? Are they Muslim? They speak Urdu at home because the previous everything else is English. I'm not going to learn English properly. They can't get proper jobs.
You know what's interesting? If these youngsters go to, for example, a war-torn area for, war, that they want to, fight for the oppressed, they'll be stopped at immigration, they'll be arrested, they will be sent to Guantanamo Bay. But what was interesting was radical Jews, they were being radicalized by rabbis and by their politicians because of their bloodline, radicalization that, you guys are Jews and you have to protect your bloodline and this and that. They were people that were admitting on Sky that they are going to Israel to kill Palestinians, and they were being given safe passage to go there, and they were being given safe passage to come back. That was being shown as if being glorified on Sky News. They were
Again,
being interviewed.
To follow up on the point
Yeah.
you just made.
So I agree with you, by the way. I think that's terrible.
About to say on the point you just
Yeah,
made. From what I see, I mean, there are a few Jews in Leeds, not many, but from what I see, you wouldn't recognise one if you saw one any more than you could recognise a Sikh, unless they had a big black hat, and there aren't any in Leeds. And like the Church of England, it covers a very wide spectrum. You can go. I was at a meeting recently of the Quakers, who barely
Out of
believe in
interest,
God.
sorry to interrupt. Out of interest, how would you identify a Muslim man? How would you know he's a Muslim man?
I would, if he was an observant. Well, in Bradford, it's simple. In Bradford, he would be wearing a white, like this gentleman has on his head. The observant Muslims wear these prayer cap things,
I'm an observing Muslim as well.
but you don't wear a prayer cap.
No, I just don't have one.
With you. And a lot of the observant Muslims wear these long gown things.
I don't wear that either.
No, but in Bradford, that is.
No, let's talk generally, because I want to see how you would identify. Because with the Jews, you're saying
I couldn't
it's
say
not very obvious unless if it's the hat.
Yeah.
I would argue it's the same with Muslims, unless there's, like, I want to see where you're gonna. Yeah.
Do you know, I hate being old. It has nothing to recommend it apart from a free bus pass and a pension from the state. Plus, my train of thought doesn't last as long as it was. What was I saying? If people choose to identify differently, to some degree, there's potential to make themselves a target. And I'm not just talking religion and race here. Now, I know it's a free country, and I don't watch football. It's not one of my things. I like music. Hang on, I need to practice my scales. That's better now. I'm getting Albert Halton. But if there was two big football clubs in London, I don't know who they are, who hate each other.
Manchester United and Manchester City.
Manchester, yeah. So if I had a Manchester United shirt on, and all the City fans were at that end, I wouldn't go with my Manchester United shirt and sit with all the Manchester City fans. Now, it's a free country, and we can identify however we like, but it'd be a fairly daft thing to do, wouldn't it? It would be a courageous person that did that, a much braver person than me. So, by identifying openly, you set yourself up as a target for the people who neither of us agree with, who are radical, typically in this country on the right.
No, it's like we discussed right at the beginning. Radical anything is not good.
Yes.
And that needs to be stomped out. And I mean, you gave a few examples. I also gave a few examples. I gave the examples that, say, don't get mentioned often enough, especially in this current time where people are trying to whitewash the crimes of Israel whilst mentioning other crimes of theirs. I'm just trying to level the scales by bringing them to the conversations, by saying, hey, don't forget that genocide as well, right?
If I took you to Leeds Market and then we went for a walk into the lower middle class, upper working class areas of Leeds, and we started asking people about what the concerns were. I can't speak for everybody else. My belief is they wouldn't be bothered about Palestine or India or the Rohingyas, but they'd be bothered about the bus service into the centre of Leeds. They'd be bothered about when the dustbins get empty. They'd be bothered about when the council is coming to mend the lavatory in the council house. Most people don't have an international view of the world. London is a very cosmopolitan city.
I actually disagree with you. I'll tell you why, and tell me if you think I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
So, because another conflict is happening in another country, there's always going to be effects to the UK. For example, if you're part of a university, and that university has been known to fund Elbit systems or certain organizations or certain weapons.
Sorry, what's an Elbit?
Elbit systems they're a weapons organization that arm Israel, but they're based here in the UK.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So, or if you're talking about for BAE Systems or Lockheed Martin, they're weapons organizations that have connections with Israel and they contribute to the killing of Palestinians. So the reason why it would matter to them, because let's just say if my tax goes up because the UK has now decided that they want to contribute, just like Keir Starmer has said, we're going to dedicate X amount more to Ukraine. We're going to we're going to dedicate X amount more to Palestine, we're going to dedicate X amount more to, X country or whatnot, then whether we like it or not, our tax pounds are adding to that. And if we're struggling to feed our kids, which, let's face it, a lot of Brits are struggling with, then a lot of those Brits will start asking questions. Excuse me, why are we involved over there? So that's number one, yeah?
Right.
Number
so
two...
Can I address it one at a time? Because I've
Sure.
forgotten by the time you
Sure,
get to number two. I'm so sorry about
It's all right.
this. I would take a different view. Is that a polite way of saying I disagree?
Of course you can. You can disagree.
I would expect, I can see why Ukraine, because we are actually donating out of taxpayer pounds to Ukraine. That's been
Same
made
with Israel.
clear. Now, Israel, to my understanding, is actually paying for the stuff it buys from this country, as is other countries to it. The BAE doesn't just sell to Israel, it sends internationally. It makes lots of and BAE is a privatized company.
What if BAE started selling to Russia? What would happen to BAE?
I think there might be government intervention. They'd have to get an export
Why?
license first.
I thought you said it's an independent private company.
No,
I
they
thought
have to have an export license. What I'm saying is I don't think British taxpayers' money is going to BAE.
Bottom line is, we'll come to the tax part of things.
Okay,
but
that's
BAE,
yeah. But what I'm saying is the painter and decorator lives in Beeston, which is an upper working class or lower middle class. He's a self-employed painter and decorator. He wants to get work. He wants to go for a fortnight to Mallorca in the summer. He wants to be able to put food on the table. He might well read The Sun. His knowledge of geopolitics is probably very limited. And I genuinely don't believe. I don't know, are you London-based? Because I think you can get a different view of English people living in London. It is such a cosmopolitan city. This city has more races, more religions, more adherents than probably anywhere else. I mean, Bradford is a bit of an outlier, but it just happens to have a high percentage of Muslims. So it's not cosmopolitan. It doesn't have a high percentage of Russians or Belgians or French or anything else. It can colour your view of what the rest of England is. I'm not saying it has done, but this is very cosmopolitan, isn't it? There aren't that many, what do they call them, WASPs, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants that were born English, that have lived here for generations, that are nominally Christian, but in fact not at all. I don't know if they're in the minority here. It's not a problem to me, but it can colour your view of other parts of the country and what they actually think. And if you can think of a tradesman from Leeds, I don't think he's bothered.
But just to come back to the taxpayer argument.
The tax, yes.
Because universities are propped up using our taxpayers' money.
Yes, indeed.
And if then they are collaborating with Israeli organizations at a time when they're committing genocide, people are rightly to be frustrated. And if they are protesting, then they're not allowed to say certain things, and their freedom of speech is being curtailed. If people are putting up flags, Palestinian flags in their properties, and policemen are coming and knocking on their doors and inquiring and invading their private space, absolutely, that's been happening.
What law have they broken?
Well, that's a very good question. They'll come, they'll say, look, that's offending the people in the area. If the person does not take it down, then they can't enforce anything. However, they will still come and they will still,
That's disappointing.
That's
disappointing. If you had a national flag front up, would they do the same, do you think?
No, I mean, people have flags of Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
But the government doesn't intervene when it comes to that. But when it comes to the Palestinian flag on your property, then unfortunately and sadly, this is why people are also bothered about the NHS service, but they're also bothered about why they can't say certain things when a genocide is taking place, and whenever they say something, it gets regarded as anti-Semitism, and the police come knocking on their door. So, I
saw something interesting. Again, this is an anecdote. This isn't a metaphor for anything bigger. Well, it might be, but there was a devout Christian woman who wore a crucifix, who was a nurse in intensive care. This is at least general infirmary. And she used to say to patients, do you mind if I pray for you? And quite a few of the Muslims got quite offended by this. They made a big thing about it in the press. And I was wondering, why? It doesn't affect them. If somebody else says something else to another god, how does it affect them?
No, but surely it's their freedom of speech to say no as well.
This I don't know.
Well, it is freedom of speech. If someone says, "Can I pray for you?" and a
Yeah.
person goes, "No," they have a right to be offended. Isn't that part of freedom of speech?
I'm a bit older than you. I grew up in a different time.
That's imposing religious will on someone then, right?
I was subject to all sorts of things. I had ginger hair before it went grey. Ginger people don't do well in this country. I wore glasses. When I was a kid, kids didn't wear glasses. I got picked on. You can get picked on for all. You just grow a skin, grow a thicker skin. That's how people are.
Let me give you an anecdote.
I've got a few minutes. 5 o'clock. I've got to go.
That's why. Thank you for your time.
Well, now I've got 4 minutes.
Perfect. So this anecdote was that I knew a Christian and a Hindu, and the Hindu believed in Ganesh, which is the elephant god.
Oh, right,
Which
yes.
is an elephant
I've
head,
seen-
and the guy's a bit large. He's got a bit of a
I think I've
poppers.
seen. They have statues of
They have
them.
statues.
Yes, I've seen them.
So he's large because he has a specific type of dessert that he likes eating.
Yeah.
And his travel companion is a mouse. Absolutely, I think I'm there as well. Absolutely.
Type 2 diabetes.
Whoa.
Anyway,
The one
sorry,
pack.
I'm
The
interrupting.
one pack. Let's not go to diabetes yet.
no.
Let's enjoy it first.
76, HbA1c, 76.
Absolutely.
I'm not well.
Absolutely. So then this Hindu said to the Christian, "Can I pray to my God for you?" Now this Christian is standing and looking at this idol of Ganesh,
Yeah.
which is an elephant head with the body of a human sitting on a mouse. He was furious. But that never made it to the media. That, like, the Hindu was like, "No problem, I see that my version of God doesn't align with your version of God." The Christian version of God is you've got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
If a Christian goes, "Can I just pray to the Father for you?" A Muslim that has knowledge would be, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah.
However, if a Christian goes, "Yeah, can I pray to my God for you?" then it's like the Trinity. Then I don't believe I don't believe in a man God.
Yeah.
And I think that's blasphemous to God. And I think people should have the right, if someone is doing something, to say, "No, I do not consent." Because I think consent is part of British values. I mean, that's what the Me Too movement's about. That's what a lot of
British values is about rubbing along together, not punching your next door neighbour
Exactly.
because he's cat shit in your garden. or
Tolerance.
something. You know, you've
Tolerance.
got, it's a small country with a lot of people in it. You've got to get on.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, your life will be miserable. Can I say, it's been an honour, a deep honour.
The pleasure was mine.
For you, that's what I had to say, to be able to talk to
You
me.
got bars. I mean,
a pleasure.
pleasure was mine.
I didn't mention this. I am actually a really nice guy, but I hide it so well that nobody's ever realised. You know, and it's very difficult when you're as nice as I'm.
no, I mean, I know you're educated in this thing because I was, because
I haven't
I'm.
been rude to you, don't you?
Yeah.
Educated.
I mean, we spoke last time, and there was a reason I approached you again because obviously we spoke about many things. We agreed on some things. We disagreed on some things, and
Yeah.
I mean that's part of British values.
But
That's
you-
part
you-
of human values, and
Rub along.
yeah, absolutely. So
The good news is I'm not going to start what do they call an intifada against you.
oh.
That's the good news.
Well, as long as you don't justify genocide against me, I'm more interested in that.
And if you happen to be living next door to me, Ramadan,
Integrate.
when it comes to Eid,
Yeah.
I'll bring you a present or whatever it is. to
Absolutely.
do.
I'll give you some samosa pakode.
Oh, I love that. I didn't spend
just-
40 years in Bradford not getting to enjoy the food.
I just wanted to give salam to him. Mashallah. I came from
Salam.
Chicago.
I must go now. I must go.
Okay, really nice
I'm
meeting.
here over the next 6 weeks. Yes, absolutely. Because I go to lots of. Do you ever go to classical music? You can stand in the
no.
arena for £8.
Okay,
Right, the best
Nice.
music in the world. It's known as the best classical music in the world.
right.
Tonight is Spanish, Ravel's Bolero,
Okay.
the three-cornered hat. Just show
You know, out of interest, we actually believe that the best music or the best melodious voice or one of the best was actually from King David. We believe in King David. We believe he had a very melodious voice with which he recited
I
the
never
psalms.
heard him. It was a long time ago now. Please do, yes.
But I'm gonna love you and leave you.
Okay, yes,
So
absolutely.
take it easy, bro.
Please don't let me stop from
Yeah.
this.